Daniele Santarelli, az Imoco Volley Conegliano és a szerb női röplabda válogatott edzőjével ezúttal egy online interjút tudunk bemutatni önök részére. Őt is a válogatott körüli megsokasodott feladatok akadályozták meg abban, hogy személyesen csatlakozzon hozzánk, de nagyon készséges volt, jó kapcsolatot ápolunk a szerb szövetséggel, illetve személyesen Daniele Santarellivel is. A 41 éves olasz szakemberrel Ludwig Zsolt főtitkár úr beszélgetett. Ő az elmúlt évek egyik legeredményesebb edzője, aki a 2017-2018-as szezontól kezdve irányítja az Imoco Volley Conegliano együttesét, és rögtön az első évben bajnok lett a csapatával. Azóta további 3 bajnoki címet, 3 olasz kupát és 4 szuperkupát nyert. 2019-ben elhódította a klubvilágbajnoki címet, 2021-ben pedig a Bajnokok Ligája trófeáját is. 2022. januárjától a szerb női válogatott szövetségi kapitánya, mely csapattal a Nemzetek Ligájában bronzérmet szerzett debütálásként. Kérem, hogy tekintsék meg az interjút, amit Ludwig Zsolt főtitkár úr készített Daniele Santarellivel.
Thank you really much for this kind of opportunity to have this discussion interview with you. On behalf of the Hungarian Volleyball Federation and the Békéscsaba Sport Club, we are really grateful to see you here and to hear you. Really thank you for this opportunity. We know that you are in the training camp now with the Serbian national team, so really thank you to have your time for having some discussion about the modern way of the volleyball. Really thank you very much.
Thank you so much to you to invite me. For me, it's a pleasure. For us, a busy day, but I'm happy to speak about volleyball. This is our passion. It's very simple to speak about it.
Really great. The first I would like to discuss with you is about the coaching as a way of life. That's a really important thing. And your life is a coach, and you are a coach for many years, also in Italy and around the world. So I really need to know that how do you think about it, that what is the coaching as a way of life, and what is the coach as a leader? Because nowadays the coach are real leaders of the teams.
First of all, I must tell you that volleyball wasn't my first passion when I when I was young. Like every Italian guy, my passion was soccer, football. But always the sport was in my life, a lot of sport. I didn't know the volleyball so much because in Italy was complicated in that period to follow this kind of sport. But I was very, very lucky because when I began to play volleyball, there were maybe the best team in the world, the generation of phenomena. No? We call them this kind of player. For us, it's an incredible period for national team. A lot of incredible player in one generation all together, and for us was simple to start to play this sport. When I began, I really didn't understand what I want to do with this sport, but step by step I understood that this sport was incredible. It became not only a sport for me, but a really passion entering my blood, and I had this kind of sport inside me. Step by step, for sure, when I was young, I only tried to play volleyball without one really goal. My really goal was I would like to emulate the best player in Italy. And I tried to follow them because I wanted to try to arrive in League One, Serie A in Italy, to try to play versus this kind of player. Step by step, I understood that this career was very difficult for me. I cannot arrive at that level, unfortunately, but I tried with all myself. But when I was very young, I understood that my passion was also to teach the sport. In Italy, there is one university very famous for the sport, and if you want to become one teacher of the sport, you must be one of the how do you say, the student of this university. I finished the university. I became to be a coach when I was 18 years old, and I play until 27 years old. So I continue this career of player and this career of teacher of volleyball, because the passion was very, very high. But at 27, 28 years old, I understood that for me, it wasn't possible to arrive in League One. And I had one important opportunity to be one coach of one good team in Pesaro. I understood that my moment, my period of player was finished, and I started this new career. I was very, very lucky. I'm very, very lucky, because maybe I did the right step to try to arrive in high level. I know the best coaches, the coaches that give me one great chance to try to arrive in high level. For sure, the most important coach is Davide Mazzanti. When I know him, I already had the opportunity to stay in League One, but with him I have the possibility to stay in Casalmaggiore. In Casalmaggiore, we won the Italian Championship. For me, it was a surprise. I opened completely my mind. I understood that with the volleyball, I can try to live, and my passion become also my life and my job. So step by step, after 3 years, I arrived to be the head coach of Conegliano. With Conegliano, everything changed. I had the president and the property, the club, giving me the possibility to be the coach of this incredible team for 1 year. I had a lot of pressure because my contract finished after 1 year. If I wasn't ready to be the coach of this national team, maybe my career stopped there. But the club believed me. After half part of the first year, they confirmed me for other 3 years, consecutive year, and then everything changed. After 2 years, arrived also the call of national team of Croatia, and with Croatia, so before with Conegliano and then with the first national team, now my life in few years is completely changed. Now maybe I did another step more. After Croatia arrived the call of Serbia, one of the best national team in the world for me. And I'm very lucky to be here. I'm very lucky to have this incredible opportunity after because I think to be a young coach, and I think to have an incredible opportunity that few coaches have in their career. Now with Conegliano and Serbia, I think to be really happy. And for sure, I need to put every season and every year something more. You spoke me about the leadership. Leadership for me cannot miss in this kind of competition with this kind of team. For sure, it's important in every team. Also, if you are the coach of one young team, it's important the leadership. But the leadership changed. When I was the coach of one young team, my leadership was completely different. Now, for sure, the experience changed myself. Every season, I changed myself and understood that I must put every season something more. But the experience help you to change. The leadership for me is not when you are angry with the player, when you scream with the player. The leadership for me is when you are able to, when you are able to listen to the player. For me, it's the most important thing. With a woman in particular, it's very important. When you are able to listen the player, to understand their problem, to try to accept their positive and negative things, and try to, okay, I can do one step behind because I want to accept what they want. For me, this is the most important things. And to to arrive to have this leadership, maybe the communication is very, very important. I have a lot of communication with every player. Also this morning I spoke with a lot of them because it's important. I think that in this way you can resolve a lot of problems. You can understand better which is my idea. They can understand better which is my idea. They can understand better myself. And in this way, it's very simple for me to do my job. Maybe to speak about leadership with few words is really complicated. But if you are clear, you speak with the player, you accept their positive and negative things, and you have, in particular, maybe this is very important because I spoke about out of court, no? But if I speak about inside the court, if you have clear idea, you try to explain to the player which are your idea, and the girls understand which are your idea, and they accept your idea, my job is done.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. This was a really big view about you as a coach and as a man, and also that it's a really good thinking about the leadership skills of the coach. So I really believe that who was a player can be a good coach. And the really important thing is that who was a player and became a coach can understand also the players' problems and also the players' mentality. But anyway, I think that we also have to speak about it because in the modern volleyball, is it impossible to be a one-man show? So I would like to ask you about your opinion about the teamwork. I mean, your stuff around also in Conegliano or in the Serbian national team. So how does it work in the practice, in the trainings? So how do you work with your staff? How do you rely on your co-workers?
For me, this question is important because I changed myself during the year. For sure, in my first season, my responsibility was bigger. I think that, okay, I must do everything alone. I believe in my stuff, but I thought that my responsibility was so high, and I cannot give to my assistant coach everything of my responsibility. But every season, maybe also that, I don't know if this is the experience or the trophy that helped me, but for sure every season is more simple for me. Every season I give more to my staff. Every season I like to give the responsibility to my staff to prepare everything. I believe in them. I trust completely in them. If I cannot do this, they cannot work with me. I change a few members of the staff in this year, because in this season, because when I find one important member of the staff for me, I cannot change if they want to stay with me, for sure. First of all, because maybe I don't know if you understand how much is important for me the dialogue. For me, is important the person. The person first of all. Then maybe if I have in front of me one good person, for me is very simple to work, because I think to be a clear person, very normal person, to speak with me is very simple. And if I find one person similar to me, for me is very, very, very simple. I like to prepare every season in a good way. I like to give the responsibility for each member of the staff to divide our work, our job. But I like also to change their responsibility. For example, I have one assistant coach for me with Conegliano from 6 consecutive seasons, but every season I give him something more, because it's normal that maybe he has more, how do you say, when you can change, because if you repeat every time the same kind of job, and I know him very, very well.
Yeah, maybe the motivation,
yes, the motivation, yes,
and the self-development also.
Yeah, perfect. This is the right word. And the motivation change, and I like so much. Maybe it's important to explain you how I divided our job. For sure, the most important part of our job is in the practice and during the match and before and after the match. So how we study the opponent team and how we study ourselves. During the practice, I like so much to give responsibility to some part of my staff. Sometimes I believe so much in them that I don't follow what they prepare. Sometimes I want to follow them because for sure I can learn something more because they have another idea, and I like so much if the staff critic me about my idea, because after some years together, it's simple that our idea start to be the same, and it's important that we arrive in conflict because all in this way we can improve and grow up together. It's important how we divide our job before the match, how we study the opponent team. I like also in this way to change the motivation. For example, only to explain in a simple way, if in 1 year past season my assistant coach studied the break point of the opponent team, I like if the next season he will study the side out, only to create in him some different idea and more motivation. Maybe this is a right way to explain how I decide and how I try to find my member of the staff.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. You know that this interview is making for an international sports scientific congress. And in this way, I think that this is very important, like a theme, that how do you see the evolution of the modern women's volleyball? So how was the real development of our sport in the past years? And what the future trends do you see, or what kind of things should make this unbelievable sports more spectacular and more good on its way?
Well, first of all, I want to say that maybe volleyball is one of the few sports that change a lot of rules, because we understood that maybe in the past volleyball was boring with the very long matches, and we understood that we must to change something. Now for me the volleyball is completely different from the past. Now is very nice to watch one match. If we consider the past volleyball was incredible, now with all the side out, without the point, so now it's with the rally point system, everything's changed. The rule are change a lot with the libero, with the possibility to touch the net with the serve, with the possibility to pass with the set, to touch the ball with the foot. Now a lot of rules arrive to create the sport more spectacular. But for sure, this is not enough. Maybe this is not a problem only for the woman. Maybe it's more important for the men. I'm a coach of the women, so I can try to find one solution, but it's very complicated because everybody wants to anticipate the sport and try to find one solution to create this sport the best beautiful sport in the world. Maybe for the men it's complicated because the men are always taller, are always stronger. Maybe the net now is a problem. Maybe now they serve with 120 kilometers, so it's very incredible. And I must tell you that sometimes the men volleyball is boring for me. Women volleyball is different, is more funny because the rally is long. They play a lot of defense, but also with the women, something start to change. Because now the women are taller. Now we have a lot of very jumper player. But maybe it's not the time to change a lot for the women. We don't need to anticipate a lot because we continue to try to follow the men volleyball. Women volleyball must arrive close the men volleyball, but women are not men. So we are not ready to change a lot because the women volleyball is already still good. And we don't need to change a lot. I don't know, because it's very complicated. Believe me, it's very complicated. To try to find one rule to change the sport is very complicated, because if I find maybe I can write one book, or I'm genius. I know that now they create something, but is not in the sport, but around the match, to create this sport more spectacular, no? Like the event in USA, NBA, NHL, this kind of sport, and it's very nice, very, very nice. About the rule, I cannot tell you nothing, because I don't have one idea about this really for the woman. But for sure, if I think about the scientific way, like we want to change the sport, now is very, very nice. Now there are a lot of important study also from the television. We can study everything about with the sensor. Now the player has a sensor. They can put the sensor here, or they can put sensor in front of them. We can calculate everything about them. The heart rate, the frequency, the movement in the court, how many jump they do, how many energy they spend during one matches. So a lot of information important for us to understand the level of the player, and to try to anticipate, because in the past we understood that there were a lot of injuries, and it's not correct for the player, because you know better than me how many competition this kind of player play, and we must find one solution to preserve this player, because the player are everything. If we lose player, the spectacular is finished. So if we want to continue with this player, we must find one solution, and to study everything about their practice and their match is important for us, to try to anticipate their injury. For sure, the scientific study are in this moment the best. The best, if we consider in the past, we did an incredible jump. We changed completely our way to study the opponent team. And also, sorry, now if I think my job, also now the way to study the opponent team is completely changed. In the past, we have VHS, the bigger to watch the practice or the match. Now is completely changed. There are a lot of websites, there are a lot of programs to try to study every team, and now is, if one person want to study one team, you can study everything about the team, and it's incredible.
Yes, I think that is a big development now, and a big possibilities in the event organization. And I think that we are on a really good way to make a show for the spectators, not only in the sport way, but also the atmosphere in the arenas. These are really amazing. And I also think that there will be some changes about the rules, which can also help for the players and for the coaches to make more creative the sports. And I completely agree with you that the men's volleyball is different than the women's. It has a different way now. And the women's volleyball really don't have to follow that way, because it has his own specialties, which is really makes the women's volleyball very spectacular for all the people. But just a really short question about the player selection, because this is not really not an easy task. How do you think about it, about the player selection, especially the team hierarchy? That if, of course, in club and in national team is a different things, but you have a lot of experience to work together with big players like Egonu or Bošković. So this is not that easy work for a coach. How do you think about it?
Okay, first of all, if you speak about these two kind of player, I can tell you that one side of me, one part of me can tell you that this is the most simple part of my job. It's very simple to be the coach of two incredible players like this. But if there is one positive thing, for sure there is one negative thing, because they are star They are star, really star, and it's important for them to continue to be star. But for someone is not so simple to play with them, not versus, with them, because they are star and they are in another level. I'm lucky to be a coach of two incredible opposite like this, and the next season hack. So I'm very lucky, very, very lucky. But I was curious also to know this kind of player, because when you have the possibility to know this kind of player, three incredible and amazing player with three completely different mentality, from Italy, from Serbia, and from Sweden, they maybe also their attitude is completely different. No, until the moment I'm the coach of one player of Moscovic for a few days, 1 month. I cannot tell you a lot about her. For sure, she's an amazing player. I'm very happy to be the coach of one player like her. Until now, everything is perfect. I think that it's very easy to be the coach of one player like her. Like Egono. Egono is incredible. Egono is an amazing player. I have a great relationship with her. Very good feeling with her. I was her coach, his coach for 3 years, for 3 seasons. For me, it's incredible because I'm young, and to be the coach of just this kind of player is amazing. Maybe I will tell to my generation when I will become a grandfather. And until now, I can tell you how I can choose the player for the national team. The first season is not simple for me in every country, like Croatia and now in Serbia, because I arrive late. For example, I signed my contract in January. For sure, it's simple to know some player, the best player, because I play versus them in a lot of competition with my club, with Conegliano, and or I follow them during the past season or in national team. But if there are some good players, I completely don't know nothing about other player. And this is the most difficult part of my job, because my job is I cannot know 12 players and that's it. I must know 15, 60 players. So I start to study every player of Serbian championship in January. I must understand the name of the team in the club. I must understand and know the name of the players. I must understand the level, the age, the position, what they did in the past, everything, the injury, everything about every player. And this is complicated for me, because you have one group of 60 players and you must bring 20 players in the first part of summer in May when I arrive. You must understand that I finish the final of Champions League, and 2 days later I arrive in national team, and 1 week after we had the first match of UNL. You can understand that I must understand the player, the name, the position, the situation. They must understand me. So in 1 week, I must resolve what maybe you can resolve you try to resolve in 4, 5, 6 months in a club. Because sometimes in club, it's completely different. You have 8 months to prepare one season, and it's very simple. Here is completely different. But I believe that the most difficult season for me was the first summer. The next summer, for sure, I know a lot about every player. For sure will be more simple for me, because I know the ambient, I know the situation here in Serbia, I know the federation, I know the level, and now for sure it's more simple for me. Now we arrive in the last part of the summer. I have now 15 players, so I decide 14 players for the World Championship, and now my difficult part of my job is finishing. For sure, it's not simple, very not simple, but I try to stay here for a lot of years. So in this way, my job is not so complicated.
I'm really thank you for this. And finally, if you can just have some some message for the Hungarian coaches, it would be very grateful. That some sentence or your ideas how it is the coaching life. So if you can just tell a few words for them, like a message.
I play versus a Hungary team a lot of time with Croatia. I follow the passion and how much the sport is important in Hungary. So I think that the level is good, and maybe there are a lot of important coaching in Hungary. I think that you have the possibility to improve a lot, because I think that there are also good team, good club, and Hungary believe a lot in this sport, in the volleyball. I'm very happy about it. I saw also during the European Championship the passion of the supporter and the fan. I think that everybody can do something for this sport in Hungary. I think that in few years they continue to work in this way, they can arrive in very good level. I hope for them, and it's important that every coaches take the responsibility to study a lot, to follow the sport, to try to take something from every coaches in the Europe and the world. All in this way, the level of the sport can improve in Hungary. But good luck to everybody, to the federation, to the coaches, to the Hungary volleyball.
Thank you very much. Really, thank you for this opportunity to be with you, and good luck for the World Championship, and hope to see you here in Hungary soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.